Classic Hits, KDUZ. Good morning. Joel Niemeyer here on the Smorgasbord here for you. And one of the guests that you've heard quite regularly on my Saturday morning show, Area Sports Roundup, Chad Greenway, former Minnesota Vikings linebacker, the MN Scorefeed Blitz. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How's it going out there?
Doing very well, and boy, we talked about this a little bit last time, a couple weeks ago. But you got to be a pretty proud dad. You got a gold medalist in your house now. How's that feel to have a state champion girls basketball player?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to encapsulate into words. You're just so proud. So proud of her. So proud of the team. So proud of the families and parents and school. I mean, honestly. My first experience, as a dad going through this and, just awesome. I mean, just so proud of her, how she handled herself as a young twerp and went out there, they got it done. And, I think the old adage, the best team won in Class 2A and there was some unbelievable individual efforts, but, our team pulled through. So very, very excited. So fun to do it. And Williams Arena was a great host site. Kids played great. It was awesome.
Now, are you one of those? Because there's all different kinds of sport fan parents. I mean, I've been in broadcasting for years, and you've been on the field for years, so you've probably seen most of them too. There's the good fans. There's the yelling at the refs fans. What kind of a sports dad are you?
I'm a little bit all over the board. We came into Providence, and we 2 years ago we moved over there when COVID hit and all the craziness, and we decided to jump schools and moved all of our kids there, and you can tell that they haven't had, it's a younger school. You're not part of a community necessarily because you're in a private Catholic school. So when you go to games, certain times the culture wasn't necessarily there to fill the stands and to really kind of load up and understand that. So my wife and I thought, we're going to help create a little culture and help create a little noise, and so we started. We kind of became the cheerleaders, kind of became the loud parents for the kids, and in a very obviously above board way, but just tried to be encouraging and cheering, and of course embarrassed the heck out of our daughter. So I'm guessing what you'd call is a pretty intense fan, but obviously not in no way ever attacking and being a crazy person towards the refs or another kid or anything like that. Just always kind of more of a cheerleader, I guess you could call it.
Now, I did joke about yelling at the refs, but from a player standpoint, I mean, when you were playing for the Vikings, I'm sure, maybe if there's something clean enough you can say on the radio, I mean, were there times where you guys as Vikings players on the road, or, I mean, I'm sure you heard most of the bad stuff on the road.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, I don't think I've ever been flipped off more than I was when I was in Pittsburgh. You go to Pittsburgh and you kind of drive into the stadium and you have never been flipped off or seen more birds in your life. And we're driving in, and everybody's telling you exactly what they think about your team. And it's interesting because it's a fun, competitive environment, and you're an adult and you get it, right? When you're in the NFL. But these high school kids, obviously, it's a different animal. So you get some of the back and forth with the high school crowds. The student sections, they're having fun with it, and always keeping it pretty clean. So that part is a lot of fun.
And then that's a nice transition to the end of the tournaments. Best of luck to the rest of the boys basketball team that are still facing competition this week. But I would guess for MN Scorefeed, you're kind of transitioning over to the spring sports now.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. We looked at our numbers from this winter, and I don't think we understood how. I mean, we understood it, but when you get into it, how many games? I mean, the hockey world has, the basketball world has, obviously girls and boys on both sides. It is a lot, and our team did an unbelievable job of staying on top of things as we grew our app and our followership. The fans really stepped up and figured out how to use the app and really encouraged other people to use it, because you could tell just the usage on the app just exploded as the year went on. And then you saw a lot of these games that were being scored by fans sitting in bleachers somewhere, especially as the game as the year went and people understood what we were looking for. And just an incredible usage on our app. And year one, I don't think it could have gone any better. And it comes down to, folks like you give me some airtime and be able to talk about it and get our word out there and what we're trying to do and how we're trying to help high school sports. So you played a role in that too, Joel, so I appreciate that.
Appreciate having you on here. Chad's going to stick around more. We're going to take a break. He'll share some great music here on Classic Hits KDUZ. We're going to talk Wild when we come back with Chad Greenway right here on KDUZ. Classic Hits, KDUZ. Good morning. Joel Niemeyer on the Smorgasbord here this Friday morning, and we're talking with former Vikings linebacker Chad Greenway, the MN Scorefeed Blitz. And Chad, there was a flurry of moves made for the Minnesota Wild this week. From a player standpoint, do you like the fact that the team knows it's not standing pat, it's going for the title?
I think when you saw that going on this last month, right, where a little bit of a dip in competition, a little bit of a dip in how our results were faring, I think you could see that a shakeup of some degree needed to happen. I think you have to be in that position. When you're in this position that the Wild are, there's two ways to handle that, right? You ride out with who you have, and we kind of saw where that was going, or do you bring in some fresh energy, some new bodies, and say, we're going to go for broke? And I think that's the right move with this team right now.
How do the play? Because I'm assuming the players that left were close to teammates. Currently, the players that come, they're kind of new. How do the players still around react to moves like that?
Yeah, it's tough. I think hockey's a different animal because it's such a fast-moving sport, and the puck is always bouncing and jumping all over the place. So yeah, you have plays, but it's more about just reacting off of others and reacting off of movements and skating patterns. And so it will take some time to get used to the new players coming in for sure. But it's never fun to lose teammates. Especially guys that you're close with. Everybody understands the business. Everybody understands that piece of it, but it doesn't make it any easier. And these guys are friends. They have families, right? They have families that are going to be left behind now and have to figure out what the next move is and where they're going to end up, and all sorts of kind of questions like that a lot of fans, really don't think about. These are people's lives, right? And that can be a challenge. But for the most part, when you're in a season and you're not the guy who got traded or moved on, it's sort of next man up, next man in, and you just got to keep reacting because you're so focused on the job at hand.
From a fan standpoint, though, I gotta admit it was a little weird because you don't normally see a Minnesota team making moves like that to go for the title. At least winter sports teams, Wild and the Wolves, don't have a tradition of doing stuff like that.
No, they really don't. And I think you've even seen what the Twins have kind of done here with the moves they're making, some splash moves. I think every fan in Twins territory has been excited for that. But kind of sticking with the Wild is we haven't really had a team that's gone for something like that. And now we get to see, is it going to pan out? Is this going to work? Because we've seen it happen. We've watched Sports Center. We've followed the sports news and said, hey, this team went for broke. It worked, and they're hanging a banner. Can we get that done here in Minnesota? That would be so incredible.
We got one more segment with Chad coming up. We're going to talk his favorite team, the Vikings, coming up right in just a little bit, right here on Classic Hits KDUZ. Classic Hits KDUZ, talking with Chad Greenway, the MN Scorefeed Blitz here this morning. Don't forget to check out MN Scorefeed on your phone or a tablet. And Chad's favorite team, the Vikings, I should say one of your favorite teams. Iowa probably is your other favorite favorite team there. But the Vikings had a big week as they signed Zadarius Smith, and it seems like the Wolves, or the Vikings, I should say, are going all in to try and win something.
Well, I think anytime you go sign somebody that was a problem for your team to handle, everybody gets really, really excited because we're like, wait, we know what this guy can do. He's going to come here and do the exact same thing. Yeah, I think the exciting part for me is just watching them sort of understand how they're going to build this defense back, and kind of gives a glimpse into they're going to play some 3-4. They're definitely going to play some 3-4 with Zadarius coming in. They're going to probably play some 4-3 looks. They're going to get after the quarterback in nickel situations with 4 down linemen. I don't know that you could find a better guy that I'd like to get signed than Zadarius. I think he is an absolute stud, and I can't wait to see him in purple.
And one of the things, again, from a fan standpoint, I like the fact that you got players. Kirk Cousins reworked his deal. Adam Thielen reworked his deal. Danielle Hunter had some of his stuff converted. So there's players that are working and saying, "Hey, we want to win too. Let's rework and try and get these players in to hoist that title."
Yeah, I think it comes down to these veteran guys, right? And it doesn't really matter how much money you've made or are going to make or what your station in your career is. It's about guys buying into a narrative the team is pushing to say, hey, we need this guy to finish this way. And I think in the NFL, especially the guys that did rework, right, with Harry, Thielen, and Cousins, I mean, those guys have been established players. They've made a bunch of bucks in the league. And for them to move money around, and it doesn't appear like money's been taken, but to move money around to say, hey, we're going to pay you this, but at a different time or a different hour, let's go get these guys and go win for you. And there's nothing better in the NFL than winning. There just isn't. You know, the contract part's great and doing all that, but when you're winning in the NFL, it is a special time in the locker room and the city and the community. And we all know what we're all like as fans when the Vikings are winning. You can imagine what it was like in that locker room when you're winning. So for a first-year GM, first-year head coach, Rob Brzezinski writing the contracts, these guys are all very, very aware that the timeline is really short for new coaches, new GMs. You need to win now, and we need to find creative ways to go get some cash to spend, and I'm really glad they're doing it.
Is this the last major free agent move? I'm sure there'll be some depth guys and some other lower-priced veterans brought in. The draft is coming up, but is this the last major move you see this team making?
I think from a big financial splash, probably. I wouldn't mind to see get some more depth in the back end. I think the back end needs some help as far as just depth goes. Can you go get a veteran guy that's on the street that's just maybe a little longer in the tooth, or maybe a guy that hasn't splashed like maybe everybody thinks he can, and go find a guy that can fit your system to play corner, to play that nickel position. I think we're probably done spending a lot of money just based off the numbers alone. But at the same time, you need to go get a couple depth guys and then go build your team through the draft.
Sounds good. Hey, we'll chat with you in a couple weeks, Chad. Thanks for coming on.
You bet. Yeah, thanks again for a great winter sports season. It was awesome. All the listeners, go out there, go get the Scorefeed app, and follow us along for the spring. Thanks a lot.
He's Chad. I'm Joel, the MN Scorefeed Blitz here on KDUZ.